Brilliant. Welcome, everybody, to the final session in the Parkon event. And no better way to finish what I hope has been a great 2 days for us all with a celebration. Before I get into that, I think I hope we're all familiar with the toilet health and safety, fire alarm and associated information. Do I need to repeat those details for anyone here? No. Excellent. Brilliant. Well, I am Paul Jackson-Clark. I'm the Director of Fundraising and Experience at Parkinson's UK. And it was my privilege a year ago to launch the Parkinson's Community Awards, which we hosted at the 2023 AGM. So it's brilliant to be back in 2024. And we've had even more nominations this year. I'm going to be joined today by a host of famous faces from across the UK Parkinson's community, and we'll be celebrating some of the nominees today. So without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce a very good friend of mine, a 2023 Parkinson's Community Award winner himself, John, I'm from Hull, Hinson.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. That's great. Good afternoon, everybody. As Paul said, I'm John. I'm from Hull, but was born in the East Riding of Yorkshire at Filey. And I'm very grateful to be here. It's fantastic. I'm a volunteer diagnosed with Parkinson's for over 15 years now. And according to our friendly online digital communication system for volunteers, Assemble, about 13 years I've actually been active. God knows what I did for the 2 years that are missing. I've been given the great honour of introducing our very special guest host for this afternoon here in my home county of Yorkshire. I imagine that he is no stranger to most of you in this audience. In fact, I think it's fair to say that he's no stranger than anyone in this audience. I am delighted to welcome Paul Mayhew-Archer, MBE, comedy writer, producer, mover and shaker, and inspirational ambassador for the Parkinson's cause, for which he gives us so much time. Paul has generously been touring the UK, sharing his hilarious and soul-searching take on this strange condition that we all share. And this afternoon we'll have the pleasure of his heartwarming wit. If I may do a very little plug, Paul is bringing his whole one-man show to the Hull Truck Theatre on the 6th of November. And there's a few leaflets going around. So if Paul leaves you hungry for more after this fantastic set, I think 3 sets that he's got for us today, please come and contact Hull Truck Theatre and purchase your tickets and come and see him for the full show, 1.5 hour show. So, without any further ado, in this iconic building full of Archer exhibits, some of you are slightly ahead of me, I think, at the moment. Please put your hands together, whoop, holler, stamp your feet, and give a huge cheer, a huge Yorkshire Leeds Armouries cheer, to our very own Archer, Mr. Paul Mayhew-Archer.
Thank you, John. Hello, and I looked on the Facebook entry for my show, the Movers and Shakers Facebook entry for my show today, and it said going to people, and it said interested none. So I hope you're interested today. Could I start by doing something a bit exciting? Could you all stand up? I'm going to take you through my exercise regime, because we all know exercise is very important. So if you could all stand up, those of you who are able to stand up, please. Thank you very much indeed. And now if you could put your left hand on your left hip, and if you could put your right hand on your right hip. That's my exercise routine. You can sit down now. As you know, I have Parkinson's, and instead of sitting at home just feeling miserable, I've decided to come to Leeds and make you all feel miserable as well. I look at the funny side of Parkinson's and I try to find it, and sometimes I find it in the songs that are played before I'm introduced on local radio. Sometimes I'm introduced and they say, in a few moments we'll be talking to Paul Mayhew-Archer about his Parkinson's. But first, here's Aretha Franklin and say a little prayer. Oh, but first, here's Paul McCartney and Wings and Live and Let Die. Actually, my favourite interview ever was on a local radio station, and Parkinson's UK did the honours, and they prepared me for the interview. They said, now the message to get across this week, Paul, this Parkinson's Awareness Week, the message to get across is if you meet someone with Parkinson's, be positive, be encouraging, be upbeat, be enthusiastic. So, and also try and avoid using the word suffering because it's a bit depressing, and avoid using the word disease because it makes people think that, it might be contagious. So I went into the interview, and the interviewer began, so today we're talking about Parkinson's disease, and I have with me Paul Mayhew-Archer, who has suffered from this ghastly disease for some time. In fact, Paul, I happen to know quite a bit about Parkinson's myself because my own sister-in-law suffered from it ghastly. And it was a downhill struggle all the time with her. And she got worse and worse and worse. And she brought the whole family down with her, frankly, Paul. We all got more and more depressed. And so it was a relief for us all when she was finally released from her suffering by her death. So, Paul, what's your message? And then he could see that I was a little bit flummoxed, so he said, well, while we're waiting for Paul to come up with his message, here's Bob Dylan and Knocking on Heaven's Door. So how did my love of comedy begin? And it all began when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and my parents bought me a puppet show, a puppet theatre, and some puppets. And I started doing some puppet shows for my friends. And I found that the more puppet shows I did, the fewer friends I had, because they were really terrible. And then I was at school. I was hopeless at most things. I was absolutely hopeless at sport. I was so bad at cricket that not only could I not bat or bowl or field, but even when I was made the other umpire, I got sent off because I didn't know how to keep score. And also I joined a school choir, and I actually did sing a solo in one of the carol services. I wasn't meant to sing a solo, it's just that I came in a bar early. And I remember my choir master turning to me, and he didn't say anything loudly because we were singing at the time, but he mouthed the words to me, "You bloody idiot," which was charming. Anyway, I wrote a play in the sixth form, and I put it on, and it was the most thrilling experience of my life, because hearing people laugh was just absolutely wonderful to me. And I think it was the most thrilling experience of my life, largely because I hadn't gone out with any girls yet. But soon after I left school, I started going out with a girl, and I'm still going out with her to this day. Ooh, okay. It really pisses my wife off. No, she is my wife. And I also, after I left school, I went to university, and I joined a university comedy group. And we used to take shows to hospitals, prisons, psychiatric units, anywhere where the audience couldn't get away. And I don't know whether any of you have been heckled by an acute psychiatric patient, but I have, and it is a terrifying experience. "Get lost, you bastard! Get lost, you bastard!" I kept shouting at him, but he simply would not go away. Anyway, at 21 then, age 21, I found comedy. And I thought that was my way of making my friends happy. But I realised later on that it wasn't. It was my mum was ill throughout my childhood, and I've realised since that it was really my way of making me happy in a house where happiness was in short supply. And I think that's why now I do comedy, to keep me going with the Parkinson's, because it's my way. We all have different ways, and we'll hear some ways this afternoon of how people keep themselves going through Parkinson's. And my way of keeping myself going was to find comedy and to laugh at it. And I continue to laugh at it to this day. This has been a fantastic spirit this afternoon and yesterday and this morning. Extraordinary spirit going on in this charity at the moment. And we did actually almost, the movers and shakers, we did almost chain ourselves to the bars of 10 Downing Street. We did turn up and we did submit our charter, and we're going to persist with our charter. And it was wonderful going to 10 Downing Street, I have to say. We were warned when we got there that there are armed police outside. So they said, do not make any unexpected or sudden movements. Frankly, I'm amazed we survived the thing at all. Anyway, this afternoon we're going to celebrate some marvellous winners, and I think now is the time for the first one to be awarded. So shall I invite up Paul? Do you want to do this, Paul?
I can do.
That's fantastic, marvellous.
Paul Mayhew-Archer!
I'll be back shortly.
Amazing. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. So the Parkinson's Community Awards are all about celebrating and recognising inspirational, amazing people. And we all know inspirational, amazing people. And they don't come much more inspirational and amazing than our first nominee, Hemma Riley. Hello, Hemma. Welcome to the stage. And before Caroline and Paul have a chat with Hemma, I'm going to read out the nomination from Helen Bruin, an advisor team manager. In the Midlands, Hemma set up the Parkinson's Cafe in the People Centre Cafe in Leicester several years ago. Hemma has taken the group from strength to strength, and it has a healthy turnout each month and continues to grow. Each week, the group are met with friendship and warmth, and also some lovely food, usually provided by Hemma and her family. Hemma takes care to make sure that all the members have a voice, and will often reach out to the Parkinson's local advisor service with any concern she has, or to make referrals on behalf of her members for support. She is an inspiration to all that meet her. Hemma Riley.
So, Hemma, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Right. I think the best place to start really is by saying that when I first got diagnosed, and this is how it all came about really, I found out very quickly that people within my community hadn't got any idea about what Parkinson's was, and it was very much, they all thought it was a curse or God had done something, and I'm like, what are you bringing God into it? What's that got to do with the price of fish, you know? Anyway, so I got got a real bee in my bonnet about it, and those that know me, once I get something under my skin, there's no stopping me, because I'm just like, not happening. So I thought I need to educate these people, because they haven't got a clue, and I'm not the only South Asian person or from an ethnic background that will have this illness. And so I thought I need to start this group and that would give me the forum to start educating people. And that's how it all began.
How did you get people to come along? How did you get to persuade people?
Right. What it was, every year, and we've just finished this year, there's a big Hindu festival called Navratri. It's a 9-day festival where hundreds of people gather for dancing and celebration. And I went along, and they collect money for charity every year for different charities within Leicestershire. So I approached them, and they agreed to fund our group, whatever collections they made from that event for the 9 days. And every night I got up on the stage and I hollered. I did. I let them see it. I let them have it all. What this illness is. I wasn't taking any prisoners, because that's the way I am. And I told them how it is. Look at me. I'm not cursed. It's a neurological illness.
How did you know you weren't cursed?
Because I'm as tough as old boots, as my mum says. So that's how it all kind of came about. And I've been on the radio locally, because we've got a family friend who works for a local radio station who supports our group immensely. And I'll just get my face out there, annoyingly most of the time, to say, come on, listen up. This is a proper...
And was there a moment when you knew you'd made a breakthrough, or do you make breakthroughs with people all the time?
I just do it all the time, because once I start, they can't shut me up.
And Hemma, your family,
Oh,
It's not just you, is it? This is a family affair, isn't it?
absolutely, a huge family affair. It all started with my nephew, Shivan, and my nieces. They got on board, and my sister-in-law, thank you, she takes me everywhere and she supports me and does everything in between. And they really took this illness on board for what it was and got me involved, and that's how it all kind of came about, and I've never looked back, and I'm never going to.
And did you found that people weren't telling anybody that they had Parkinson's?
That's right. It was like a hush-hush thing. It was like something to be ashamed of, and there is no shame in any illness, let alone Parkinson's. So a shake, what of it? Do the shake and vac, come on. Does it matter? Does it really matter? There is no shame in any illness. Get over yourselves. And that was the message I was trying to put out there, that get your families on board. And families didn't understand, because there were a lot of ladies out there within our communities that are suppressed within their cultures. And I used to take them out, even on street corners. I used to meet them on street corners, not in that way, but just so that I could get them out of the house, out of the environment, and talk to them, so they'd got a shoulder to cry on and tell me what the issues were, and then I'd gently get introduced to the family and explain.
So are you saying that it was the men that were the problem?
Not all the time, because and what's happened is that our group started out as a South Asian Parkinson's cafe, but now we've got every culture. Our door is never shut to anybody with Parkinson's or their carers, and that's the other thing. Carers, poor things, they suffer in silence, and they are the main people we should be celebrating today.
So, I think you are being quite modest, and you are failing to share with everybody just the wealth of food that is shared at one of your meetings.
Do I need to say anything?
No, so perhaps you could kind of give everybody a little bit of a taster, even after lunch, of what it's like to come along to a meeting. Not only the food, but as I remember, the dancing. So just tell everyone.
Right. As most of you probably know, that food in our culture is a massive thing. You sit round a table, you celebrate, and you just eat until you bounce off anywhere, right? And that's why every group meeting we have an array of food that we share with masala tea and everything, and we cater for all the cultures that come. And food in abundance, and that gives me the opportunity to go around talking to each of the persons that attended, to say, how are you doing? And give them that personal time that they need. It's no good doing a group, say, there's the door open, come on in, listen to somebody that's your guest speaker, and then disappear. That's not what this group is about. We are a Parkinson's family, full stop, period. And you don't give up on your families. And that's the way I would like to run my group, and that's the way it's going to stay.
So what's the next vision, though? What more do you want to do?
I want to take this wider.
Yes.
Because the point is, this is not just about Leicestershire. This is about reaching out to people in the diverse community and saying, come on, let's not be ashamed of this illness. Let's not hide it under the carpet. Let's talk about it. Let's build on it. Let's make something of it. So I'm going to do everything I possibly can to reach out to as many people within the Parkinson's world to say, if you've got any ideas, if you know anybody that knows anybody, ring me, email me, text message me, do anything. Let's do something about it.
And what's it done for you?
Okay, it's given me a new lease of life, because I had to retire. I got diagnosed at 51. I had a fantastic career, and all of a sudden, nothing.
What was your career? What were you?
I was a social worker.
Right.
And then I thought, do you know what? I'll be damned if I'm going to sit in a wheelchair for the rest of my life and vegetate. Not happening, because that's not me, as you can see, as you can tell. So I thought, I've got to do something about it, and I'm going to, and that's how it all began. And the Parkinson's is not an illness for me. Parkinson's has given me a new lease of life. I'm proud to have Parkinson's, because it's given me so much that nothing else can replace it, because of what I can give back. Just that one phone call, just that one smile on somebody's face. Magic.
Oh, well, I think, Emma, you've put a smile on everyone's face.
Bless you. Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic.
So, is there a challenge, though, that you'd like to give everybody here. So you've got Leicester. Leicester's got you.
Oh, bless. What I would say is, if you can put a smile on somebody's face just by being there, or just making the odd phone call, or just being there, because the other part of this is I'm all happy and smiley, and that's my nature, but we have terrible, terrible down days. Terrible down days. Even I do, believe it or not. But the point is, we have to be there for people and let them know that you're not alone. You are not alone. Pick up the phone, or you phone them. It's like, for example, if somebody's poorly within my group, or they've had a fall, or they've messaged me at 2 o'clock in the morning to say, I wish God would take me, I can't deal with this illness, or I've got cramps, or blah, blah, blah. I'll just message them back with a smiley face and saying, hang in there, kiddo, you've got this, I'll come and see you next week. And I'll take them a bunch of flowers or whatever, and wow. It doesn't cost anything. It's just time. Make the time. We've all got time.
Wow. I think we need to put our hands together again for Emma and say, well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. You were brilliant.
Emma Riley, everyone. And now for the second time, for one night only or one afternoon only in Leeds, Paul Mayhew-Archer.
Thank you. That was absolutely inspirational, and I think you're absolutely right, Emma. We do these things. I've had experiences as a result of Parkinson's that I would not have missed for the world, and so therefore I'm glad, in a strange sort of way. I'm glad I've got Parkinson's, and that's weird, isn't it? Anyway, according to Parkinson's UK, every hour in the day and night, every hour, 2 people are told they've got Parkinson's, which is serious. Because that means some of us are being told at 3 o'clock in the morning, wake up, what is it? You've got Parkinson's, go back to sleep. I was diagnosed at 11 o'clock in the morning by a friend. He said to me, Paul, I don't want to worry you, but I think you might have Parkinson's. What he'd have said if he had wanted to worry me, I'm not quite sure. But my wife and I were very worried, and so we went off to see a neurologist. We were a bit late getting there because we had to park at the car, and all the parking spaces near the hospital entrance were reserved for people in wheelchairs, which I think personally is completely wrong. I think people in wheelchairs ought to park furthest away. They've got bloody wheels. But anyway, we got in there, and the neurologist watched me walking up and down. Then he prodded me from the front, and he tugged me from behind. Then he watched me writing something down, and he said, yep, that's Parkinson's. And my wife said, how can you tell? And he said, well, your arm doesn't swing when you walk, one of your arms. Also, your facial muscles are quite frozen. For example, you seem to be finding it quite hard to smile. And I said, well, that could be because you've told me I've got Parkinson's. But anyway, then we got Parkinson's, and there's 40 symptoms, in fact, in Parkinson's, and here's a list of them, some of them. Loss of balance, continuous shaking, constipation, loss of the sense of smell. Actually, given my constipation, I regard the loss of my sense of smell as a positive bonus. Loss of speech, garbled speech, drooling. I used to write The Vicar of Dibley, so if I ever write my biography, I can call it From Dibley to Dribbly. I have problems with swallowing, memory loss, stiffness in the arms and legs, and erectile dysfunction, which I think is particularly unfair, given that I have stiffness in the arms and the legs. Just, you know. But I can get Prozac free on the NHS, and it is possible to take a tablet of Prozac Prozac without any trouble, until of course the memory loss sets in, because then you might take a tablet having forgotten you took one 10 minutes earlier, having forgotten you took one 10 minutes earlier. Having forgotten you took one 10 minutes. Talking of memory loss, of course, there's the whole 5-word thing. Have you all been Have you all had the 5-word test, one of the 5? I've had that test. In fact, we can try it now. In a few moments, I'll be asking you well, I'll tell you what they are. Face, velvet, church, daisy, red were the 5 words. And what they say is, we're going to give you these 5 words, and then in a few minutes, we'll ask you to repeat them back to us. Okay? So I was given those 5 words, face, velvet, church, daisy, red. And the first year that I was tested like this, I was absolutely terrified, because I thought, if I don't remember these 5 words, I won't be going home. I'll be going to a home, but it won't be my own home. But in subsequent years, I've found it far less terrifying. And the reason I've found it far less terrifying is that they always give you the same 5 words. In fact, I remember a couple of years ago, they said, we were going to give you 5 words. And I said, are they face, velvet, church, daisy, red? And the woman doing the test said, yes, they are. And she still gave me the same 5 words. Fantastic it was. And also, I should say that Parkinson's is, of course, progressive. So, and people, I get now freezing attacks. You all know about freezing. And I get these freezing attacks. And I remember people are incredibly helpful, I have to say, because I was standing frozen on a station platform, and the train was there, and the doors were open, and a man could see that the doors were about to close. So he suddenly lifted me up and put me on the train. I'd only just got off the train, but it was a gesture that I thought was particularly kind of him. And another sort of symptom that I've got in this progressive is my typing has got worse. My fingers have got wodgier and wodgier, and my typing has got worse. And so I make mistakes, particularly with predictive text as it's brought in now. Because one of the other movers and shakers is Jeremy Paxman, and I had cause to thank him so much. So I wrote in an email, and I said, thank you so much. But because of predictive text, it came out as thank you, smooch, to Jeremy Paxman. So embarrassing. And anyway, I've had. I was told that I could expect 5 good years when I was diagnosed. The doctor said I could expect 5 good years, and which I thought was fantastic, because I'd had the odd good year up to then. But 5 on the trot, I thought, was absolutely wonderful. Anyway, when I was originally diagnosed, I was also told by the neurologist that if I've had Parkinson's now for 14 years, but he gave me 5, and he also said it was very unlikely that I would be in a wheelchair by the age of 75. But I might, he said, and I thought, well, if I am, at least I will get a parking space near the hospital entrance. So thank you very much indeed.
Paul Mayhew-Archer! Okay, so inspirational, generous people come in many forms, and some are world's firsts. And so I'd like to welcome to the stage Annie Booth, nominated by Andy Hobbs, and also Joe Gregory, also nominated by Andy. And this is what
Hello,
Andy
Paul.
says.
Nice to meet you.
Annie has been instrumental in setting up the first all-female walking football team in the world. She advocates for them with such passion and enthusiasm that it is impossible not to want to find out more. She travels wherever necessary to give the girls the opportunity to train or compete. A thoroughly worthy recipient of a community award and fully aligned with the team name, the Pioneers. That's Annie Booth. Alongside Annie, we have Joe Gregory. Joe works tirelessly in the walking football space, helping new sites set up sessions to give people with Parkinson's access to walking football in a safe and supportive environment. The latest location to be added to the list was Derby, and Joe travelled to be there in person whenever required. He travels wherever the community needs him, and even helps to coach the England ladies Parkinson's walking football squad. Ladies and gentlemen, Annie Booth and Joe Gregory.
So I'm hopeless at sport, and I'm not interested in sport. How would you persuade me to take part?
Well, when it comes to sport, I have all my life been quite sporty, and I probably get it from my dad, who over 10 years ago passed away from his condition with Parkinson's. So how would I convince you? It is a challenge because we all know we've got to exercise. Sport's not always the right avenue for everybody, but for me, I'd never played football till 2 years ago, and it was not something on my radar. I have no idea how I'm sat here, to be honest, talking about walking football, but it's something that I was really passionate about because I wanted to find a more holistic way to look after myself and my friends with Parkinson's. And one of those ways was exercise. And I did 1,000,001 things until about 2 years ago when 2022 changed my sporting life. And I was asked to play a game of walking football in a wet, cold, windy day in Wigan with some people from a support group that I was part of, Northern Lights. And I went along, kicked a ball about, got told off several times by the referee for running rather than walking, but found the support that I got from that group of people, that community, a bit like Hema was just talking about, the power of that community stimulated me to go, I could learn something new. At 57, I'd never thought I'd learn something new. And so I just say, try things out, have a go, don't dismiss anything, because you never know what you might find. And having Parkinson's actually has been a real catalyst for some incredible things to happen around me and from our community. So I'd just say have a go, don't dismiss anything, because you never ever know what you're going to find joy in. And it could be the simplest of things.
And did you find the same way, Joe?
I think, I came into a bit different, but one of the things I want to acknowledge is, as well as Annie, who founded the PD Pioneers Ladies Parkinson's walking football team, we've also got another member of the squad on this side, Caroline, who I think has only missed one training session so far, was obviously doing some other Parkinson's UK stuff, but Caroline's been fantastic in supporting the Pioneers, but also, very importantly, being a member of the team as well.
But Joe is a long-standing footballer, so I'd never played before. Joe's played all his life and is a sublime footballer. And so how on earth we ended up playing together, I have no idea. We've got some members of our football community in the audience today, and he's a great advocate, not just for the sport, but for our condition. Together, he never fails to support people, and I think he'll never tell you that himself.
Yeah. What does it do exactly for you? Why does it make you feel better?
So my quest to start the women's team came from the impact it had on me when I was playing, and primarily I turn up to football games and I'm the only woman in the team. And I just thought to myself, there has to be other women out there who want to get together and feel solidarity in the quest to stay well with this condition. What it did for me was give me that sense of purpose. It gave me a sense of belonging to a team again. It gave me a sense of feeling like high on that kind of dopamine rush. But also it made me laugh, because I just kept thinking to myself, how on earth am I sat here playing football?
You're sitting down.
Well, some of our people
sitting
do,
down football.
But it just gives you that real sense of belonging to something, and belong with the women's community. They are an incredible, strong, feisty, fun group of women who want to help each other live well with Parkinson's. And as a byproduct of the football, we've given each other that support. And honestly, that is the best thing that's happened. I walk into the room at the end of a training session, and I purposely walk in last. And I look at these women who are laughing, crying, moaning, complaining, talking about their condition together as a woman with Parkinson's. And it never fails to take my breath away, because I go, that's what I wanted. That's why we've done this, to get women together who will support each other through thick and thin. And we just happen to kick a ball about. And 80% of the women who join us have never played before. And so it's not like we're a world-class team with skills-wise, but we are an absolute world-class team when it comes to supporting each other.
And is it worth actually saying where you've been? Because I think the walking football has allowed you to connect outside of the UK with other people.
Yeah, I mean, to say in terms of like the first year of COVID, I was chosen to play for the English team that was going to play in a football tournament in Copenhagen in Denmark. And with the COVID happening, the English team pulled out, and I thought, I've got Parkinson's now, so nothing. I've got a Parkinson's shield now, so nothing worries me anymore. So I just contacted the organisers in Copenhagen and said, I'm coming, can I play for somebody? So I ended up playing for the Copenhagen team, and I'd played for them for the last five years, actually, in the Ray Kennedy Cup. But, we've both been to places, as have some of the other people here that have played walking football, people with Parkinson's. We've literally been to Singapore, the Basque Country, Malta, Birmingham, Northern Ireland, Norway. And we often sit there and just think, look, if we didn't have Parkinson's, we would not be here. So we're always very thankful. Again, a bit like yourself, Paul. Yeah. We sort of do sometimes thank the fact that we've actually got Parkinson's.
Yeah, we've had an incredible support through Parkinson's UK, Sport Parkinson's, who are an incredible force of good in our community. The Walking Football Association, they have actively supported us in our quest to get football out there to the masses. We have people with various different stages of their Parkinson's who come to us because they want to feel together with other people, and it's a huge benefit mentally, more so than physically, I think.
And what have you learned, Caroline?
I've learned the power of cake. Yeah. Just seeing these guys is great. It's an inspiration. But actually, when we get on the field, actually, it doesn't matter whether you've got Parkinson's or you haven't. We're there together as a team to support each other. But I've never been on a WhatsApp group that's talked more about cake and life. And actually, that's what it's all about. Yeah. And these two guys are such an inspiration. And they're so meek and mild about it. But they are inspirational people who eat cake.
And have you made friendships that you last a lifetime?
Yeah, I mean, some of the women that I play with, we started off with 3 of us who had a seed of an idea. We then got 7 people to actually turn up with good faith but no idea to a training session in Birmingham. We've now grown to over 20 women who come from all over the UK, from Somerset and Devon, from Solihull once a month. And these women have become my lifeline. There's one of the women who's in the audience here today, Sharon. We voted her our captain for the next year because people like her are an incredible support to other people, not just through learning a skill of football, but actually encouraging women to talk to each other, encouraging women to share the ups and downs, the highs and lows, all of those things that we struggle with on a day-to-day basis with Parkinson's. And these women are my absolute support shield for life, because I couldn't do this without them, and I couldn't do this without people like Joe, and then there's Richie down there in the audience.
Yeah. I mean, just to say, one of the things is, although we play for different teams, and yes, there's a women's team and there's obviously mixed teams and men's teams, the first time I met with Richie, we agreed afterwards, we shook hands and we had a good old battle against each other, and we shook hands afterwards and said we are all on the same team. And that's been sort of really quite paramount, is that we're all on the same team. So we'll have a game of football, we'll have a chat afterwards, we'll hug each other, look forward to seeing each other again, and we're all on the same team. And
if other people want to join your team, what do they do? How do they do it?
So we are out on social media on under the PD Pioneers. You can find me haranguing people in various parts of the country. Joe and I go around and talk to different communities about the power of being in a team like this. And you can contact us through Parkinson's UK as well. They've got.
Yeah, and can I just add also, yes, in terms of Annie and I going around, it's most important. I felt it's most important that we went as I almost said a couple then, as a man and a woman, coming from different backgrounds, and saying to everybody, whether you're a man traditionally that's played football or you're a woman that's never played, or the opposite way round, then anyone can join in playing walking football. And I have the greatest laugh of my life on a Tuesday afternoon with the group I play with, who aren't the best footballers, footballers in the world, but we just have such a great laugh. And so it's not about the skill, it's not about the ability, it's not about the experience. It is just about having at the end, just having a bloody good laugh and having a chat afterwards. And yes, absolutely, I love going to the Pioneers because I just love the cake.
So we're getting signals. So on that, the time is called.
Yes.
I'm not going to give you a yellow card,
no, okay.
But I am going to ask everybody to put their hands together and thank everyone.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you, Caroline.
And there for the final time today here live in Leeds, but you can catch him very soon live in Hull on November the 7th, Paul Mayhew-Archer!
So as we've seen, we find different ways of keeping ourselves cheerful, join a group or play sport or whatever. Or remember funny moments, remember things that have happened. I remember some years ago, my wife said, Paul, if things get really bad, you must not worry. I will take us to that place in Sweden. And I said, I think you mean Switzerland. And she said, oh, yes. But I think she might mean that she's going to take me to IKEA. Anyway, funny memories become happy memories that we cherish. And so therefore I encourage you to remember the funny things. If funny things happen or you see funny things, make a note of them and tell other people them, because every time you remember them, you will laugh. And it can be tiny things. The world is full of little funny things. I remember having a walk quite recently in one of the villages near me, and I saw a road sign. It said Church Lane, no access to church, which I just thought was rather charming. And I will always remember my grandfather because of one thing that happened. We had a dog called Sam. And he was all right on the whole, but occasionally if you disturbed him unexpectedly, he would go for you. And I remember my very elderly grandfather coming round to our house, and he said, hello, Sammy. And he bent down and he gave Sammy an unexpected stroke, and Sammy turned on him and bit him in the bollocks. And my grandfather did what seemed completely natural at the time. He stood up. But it was a mistake because the dog came up with him. And it was quite a short dog, so it was now suspended in midair. And it was definitely not going to let go of what it had got hold of. And so there was my grandfather with this dog swinging between his legs, saying, Paul, for God's sake, do something. And I said, wait there, I'll get the camera. And then I also remember my dad. I remember my dad with great affection because one of the reasons I remember him with great affection was his complete inability to tell a joke. He said to me once, now, I've got a joke for you, Paul. And I said, oh, marvellous, Dad. And he said, yes. Now, where does Saddam Hussein keep his CDs? And I said, I don't know, Dad. Where does Saddam Hussein keep his CDs? And he said, in Iraq. And I said, no, Dad, it's in Iraq. In Iraq. That's the joke. And I remember Julie's, my wife's mother, and her malapropisms. She once said to me, Paul, how many bites do you have on your floppy dick? And on another occasion, we were on holiday in America, and she said, of course, the thing about Americans is so many of them live in these giant condoms. And on another occasion, we went round to see her, and she said, Mr. Brown down the road, he's gone into hospital. 2 Paralympics came and picked him up. And so I'm determined now to be remembered and leave funny memories behind. And so people remember me with a chuckle, and even though I have an incurable illness. And so I remember various funny things. One was a Zoom call. The very first Zoom call that I was ever involved in was a Parkinson's UK one, where we're all linked with people all over the country. And someone was doing a presentation, and at the end of it, they said, so, any questions? And my arm shot up. And I didn't have a question, it was a Parkinson's twitch. But they stopped and they said, Paul, do you have a question? And I said, no, just ignore it. It's just a twitch. Just ignore it. Just carry on. And they said, we can't hear you, Paul. You need to unmute yourself and then ask your question. Well, now I did have a question, which was, how do I unmute myself? and I couldn't actually do it, so the sort of meeting ended with them all hanging on, waiting for me to say something. Or on another occasion, I used to lose umbrellas all the time in cinemas. I'd go into a cinema, I'd take my umbrella with me, and I'd put it under the chair next to me, and then I'd forget it and go without it. And then I suddenly had an absolute brilliant brainwave. I thought, I know what I'm going to do. When I get there, I'm going to sort of take my shoelace, and there's a little bit of material at the end of the umbrella, and I thought I can swing my shoelace through this little bit of material and then tie my shoelace up, and then I can't fail to take my umbrella with me because it will be attached to my shoelace. So I watched the film, and 2 hours later I stood up. I'd completely forgotten about the umbrella, and as I moved off, I trod on my shoelace and pulled it completely tight so that now I couldn't undo it, particularly with my Parky wodgy fingers. So I then had this umbrella attached to my foot, and so I sort of struggled out of the cinema, and I got into the foyer, and I could see outside, and it was pissing with rain. And so I now have this umbrella, and the only way I can actually get this umbrella and use it is by taking the entire shoe off. So I've taken my shoe off, and now I'm walking through puddles in the middle of Oxford. It's one of the brightest cities, full of intellectual, clever people, and there's this man walking with an umbrella, and a shoe sort of swinging from side to side like a huge, something. And I just felt so deeply embarrassed throughout the whole thing. But that is me, and that is my life, and I think that the more I can mock myself and mock the life that I live, the better I feel. So that's what I try and do. And so whatever you do it with enormous enthusiasm and enormous joy, and make the most of it. And that's our way of fighting Parkinson's. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Don't forget Hull, November the 6th. Thank you.
Paul Mayhew-Archer! Brilliant, thank you, Paul. Okay, we're on the home stretch, but before I do, I'm sure you've noticed behind us this thing of beauty created by Bridget, our artist in residence, and if you look closely, you can see stories and illustrations depicting all of today's nominees, and we'll be sharing this online and in other formats very soon. Right, the next group are all here on the front row. What I'm going to do, with everyone's permission, is you're going to save your applause to the end. And when I've finished reading out each individual citation, I'm going to ask those who can to stand to face the room, and we will show our collective love, if that is okay. So in no particular order. Jane Rideout, nominated by Jonathan Bromley. Jane has been nominated for her commitment, creativity and persistence in creating Parkinson's Together UK, a vital source for people living with Parkinson's and their supporters. Richard Ricky Dunning, nominated again by Joe. Great job, Joe, you've been busy nominating people. Ricky is known for his support and generosity both locally in Hartlepool and across the globe. He travels the country to encourage participation in sports and fitness and gains enormous joy from seeing others succeed. A man who is named like a supermodel, Jagdeep, you only know him by one name, nominated by Matt Eagles, and another anonymous person, there you go, is a pillar of the Parkinson's community in London and recognised for his selfless dedication to others. From mountain climbing to boxercise, his involvement is an inspiration for many. Laurel Miller and Peter Miller. Laurel and Peter are regarded as heroes for creating, nominated by Jules Blythe. Laurel and Peter are regarded as heroes for creating their Fighting Fit course for the newly diagnosed community. This provides crucial information, knowledge and peer support, empowering people to take ownership of their Parkinson's. Viv Knock, nominated by Paul Evans, Alison Mardell, Nareen Standen, Selwyn Whitehead, Sue Moore and Yvette Bordley. Viv is renowned for her decade-long volunteer work, notably leading a young onset Parkinson's group and leading fundraising initiatives. Her empathetic support, innovative ideas for group engagement and advocacy efforts have touched many hearts. Shafak, Nominated by Joe Tosh, so Shafak is celebrated for her sensitivity, guidance on Parkinson's, and her determination to balance her profession in dentistry with her symptoms. There aren't many initiatives that she hasn't contributed to, yet she seems always to have time to give. Brian Phillipson, nominated by Cara Connolly. Brian connects with people through his poignant, humorous poetry, adapting well-known pieces with his distinctive Geordie wit. His warmth and kindness are invaluable to the Parkinson's nurse service, where he volunteers to speak at newly diagnosed clinics. Susan Turton, nominated by Cara Connolly too. As chair of the Northumberland and Tyne and Wear branch, Sue skillfully juggles day-to-day operations with organising significant events like Walk for Parkinson's. She is a fountain of knowledge and works tirelessly to share it with everyone in the community. Winston, Marshall, Abisola Rashid and Jackie Reid. Winston, Abisola and Jackie were instrumental to the Race Equality Research Project from January to May this year, along with Paulette, Toisant and Mary, who join us online. Their culmination of their involvement was 2 impactful online events to elevate the voices of people from Black, African and Caribbean backgrounds in Parkinson's research. Their efforts led to 65 attendees from diverse locations, 2/3 of whom had never interacted with Parkinson's UK before. Feedback highlighted the session's inspirational and connective power, underscoring the group's valuable contribution. And Winston and Abisola were nominated by Alex Edwards. We're almost there. And last but by no means least, Mark Wilson. Mark was diagnosed at 40, and he took up writing poetry at the time. He has now written 4 poetry books. His wife, Bev, is very creative and makes items such as keyrings, mugs, coasters and Christmas ornaments, and more. Mark sells these at the local group, local events, and at pop-up stores at the White Rose Shopping Centre in Leeds. He's a hometown boy. Every year, Mark hosts at least 2 comedy events, usually in March and September. The money Mark raises goes to support the local branch and is used for things like subsidising the Christmas meal, paying for room hire, taxi fares and activities coordinators. This means that everyone in the group benefits from Mark's work. The person who nominated Mark said, "Without Mark, our branch would be a lot poorer, not just in money, but his determination and positive attitude are amazing." Mark has raised over £60,000 in total, which is an incredible achievement, and he has helped so many people in doing so. Ladies and gentlemen, our collective group of nominees. Thanks, Sarah. And now, finally, ladies and gentlemen, Caroline Rassel, CEO of Parkinson's UK, to say goodbye.
Wow, what a fantastic way to end a fantastic 2 days. The charity is all about you, and to celebrate all of the people, whether you've had the opportunity to stand up, whether you've sat in the audience or whether you've joined us online. Thank you very, very much. The charity is here because of you, for you, and is your charity. And certainly today, I think we all feel that sense of connection. So that's been absolutely wonderful. I think you need to give yourselves a big round of applause. But of course, there are people that do all of the hard work behind the scenes, and we've been supported by a brilliant group of volunteers. And I'd just like to acknowledge those volunteers that have really stepped forward and helped to shape this conference. So Dan, Joe, Beverly, Peter, Jagdeep, Colette, Yvette and Adrian. I know some of you in the room, I've seen Adrian. Thank you very much for everything that you've done, because actually the success of today is down to people like you. So again, thank you very much. I mean, I'm sure you'll all agree with me. We've had an amazing set of speakers. If you can remember yesterday, when you come to these events, you feel like you're in a different world, in a bubble, don't you? Yesterday was only Friday, but we started the session brilliantly, hearing about the hope that the research brings us. And I think we've ended today with the hope that actually Paul's given us in terms of being able to smile and see the lighter side of life, which is important for all of us. So actually, I'd like to say a big thank you to the one, and thank God, the only Paul Mayhew-Archer.
Can I just say, I'm thrilled to... Is it Viv? Yes. And do you come from Bexhill? Because it's amazing. I grew up... And you're not that old, are you? Because the thing is, I come from Bexhill. And when I was going up there, I was bound to meet my wife because we were the only two people in Bexhill under 50s. And so it's thrilling to me. I must talk to you afterwards.
Well, of course, the other way of looking at it is, Viv, you got a lucky escape there, didn't you? That wasn't in the script either. So obviously there are huge thanks. We've had people who have been on our stores and our marketplace, and we've had sponsors, and without sponsors we wouldn't be able to hold this event. So Britannia, AbbVie and PD Neurotechnology, big thank you to all of you. Big thank you to my team. I've got a fantastic group of people that work for Parkinson's UK. Can I say thank you to all of you in the audience who've come up and made a point of saying your team have been amazing. So from me to all of you, I know you've worked really, really hard. Thank you. So as we mentioned at the AGM, we don't yet have a date for next year's AGM. We are going to be getting some feedback. We're really keen to hear what you thought of this, so there will be something that will be winging its way to you. The survey is really important that you express what you thought was good, what you thought was less good, any opportunities that we've got to improve next year. We are thinking of potentially continuing this theme of having a conference in the AGM, because I know you all really came here just for the AGM and to hear about the accounts. But for those of you that wanted something a bit broader, I hope we delivered. I really hope you have a safe journey home. And as Gary would say, live life, love life, and stop Parkinson's. Thank you.